The credit for this goes to Shannon. It's called Shannon sampling theorem. But strictly speaking, this is not right. It was done before by Whittaker. So sometimes they got a Whittaker-Shannon sampling theorem. And the origin of the sampling theorem is not from the signals, originally came from agriculture. That means if you have a big field, where do I plant this experimental plants within the field as a sample values to see the performance of the field. So, in that context the sampling theorem came, and from there of course the ideas were extended to signal theory. And good old days Fisher and all these people in statistics have worked on this, the sampling theorem. And Mahalanobis, you know Mahalanobis or not? Have you heard of the name Mahalanobis? Mahalanobis, one of the earliest statisticians of this country, who set up Indian Statistical Institute in Calcutta, and Nehru brought him to be the first chairman of the planning commission to plan the 5-year plans, and he also worked on this sampling theorem, sampling theory with Fisher in Oxford. And so a lot of people worked during those days in 1950s and 40s, 50s on the sampling theorem. But Shannon was the one who applied it for the time signals. So it goes under the name of Shannon sampling theorem. Now a dual of this also exists. A dual of this exists. That is, if there is a f omega corresponding to the f of t, which is time limited, the dual situation, here the f of t is band limited and the dual situation is f of omega is time limited. So the result will be very similar to this, t and omega interchange. So time limited function also can be expressed in terms of Fourier transform in terms of similar functions with f omega evaluated at some values of omega, which is again a sampled values, and the sample values obviously will come out equal to 1 by 2t. So the dual relationship for the, okay, if this function f of t is time limited to t seconds, how many samples will be there in the t seconds? T divided by 1 by 2b. So the number of samples will be equal to 2bt. But t is the extent, minus t by 2 plus t by 2, and samples are taken at 1 by 2b interval. So the number of samples will be equal to 2bt. Maybe 2bt plus 1 doesn't matter, the number is so large that 1 can be neglected. So if you have a function which is time limited as well as band limited, 2bt samples of the time function are good enough to represent this function. So what is the implication of this? That means all functions f of t's which are band limited to 2 pi b to 2 pi b they only differ in terms of right? These numbers will change from one function to another function. And how many such numbers are there? 2 BT numbers. If the function is also time limited. We'll come back to that. This beautiful function here is an orthonormal function. That is one of the assignment problems in the last assignment, that these functions are orthonormal functions for different values of n. So, that means now basically I am expanding this time function in terms of orthonormal expansion. The coefficient corresponding to the orthonormal expansion is equal to f of n by 2b. So, this can also be written down as equal to f t is equal to sigma a n phi n, where phi n are orthonormal. So, a n corresponding to this and this corresponding to this. And when we studied the orthonormal expansions, if you remember, we said then such orthonormal functions which are time limited can be represented as a point in the n-dimensional space, right? And we also said that the energy content of this is nothing but sum of the squares of this, right? So, f square t dt is equal to sigma a n square. Which is energy. So, that means if all these functions f12, ft3, ft3 which are time limited and band limited to the same bandwidth, then all those functions differ in terms of the set of f of n by 2b's, and this f of n by 2b is a point in the n-dimensional space, right? And what does this mean? There is nothing but the radius of the position from the origin to that point. And if all of them have same energy, all these points will be in the n-dimensional sphere. So, all signals having the same time duration and the same bandwidth limitation will be having same energy, will be sitting on a n-dimensional sphere. So, difference between one signal and another signal is where it is located on the sphere, right. So, I can now talk in terms of n-dimensional vector spaces instead of talking about the f12, f22, f3t and so on and so forth. I can talk about the position on the n-dimensional space to represent all these signals. Shannon has used this idea very effectively by doing the following. I am just drifting a bit, but if you have an n-dimensional sphere, I can't draw like this, but these points are sitting here. And if the signal is corrupted by noise, the signal will be sitting anywhere in the sphere around it, and this variation here is the noise power, noise energy. So, this fellow will be within the sphere, this fellow will be within the sphere. Now, if this fellow overlaps this sphere, then I will not be able to separate out these two. So, I can separate out all these signals in presence of noise, provided these spheres do not overlap. So, the problem now reduces to how many such balls I can fill it up in that n-dimensional sphere.